India's services exports are booming, and I have with me Rajiv, Memani of EY, Debasish, Mishra of Deloitte, and Bala, Chandran of KPMG. Well, three of the big four, because between them they appear to be contributing between $8 and $10 billion of services exports, Rajiv Memani tells me. So Rajiv, how does it look going forward? You were a little worried that the global slowdown can impact, and many of the other people I spoke to in the run-up to this discussion were speaking about worries about how 23 will pan out. But just this morning, one of my sources told me, "Ye hafta 3 client आके मेरे को ज़्यादा order दिया." So it looks like, the slowdown is actually making people do more cost cutting. So you tell me, how is the immediate next couple of years looking? Better or slightly less good?
No, I think they're looking very positive, Lata. I think cost optimization and digital transformation are trends that will go. But as accountants, we are always trained to be conservative, and globally we are seeing massive issues that are there. You look at the outlook of what most technology companies are saying. So I would say that the last 3 years have probably been the most incredible run that tech companies, professional services companies have had. I do see strong growth in the years to come, in the next 3 to 5 years to come. The engines will change. What will be areas of focus will change. But whether it will be the same growth numbers that everyone has been talking about, that I think that time will tell, because you also start achieving scale, you also start achieving this thing. But it's not so much, I would say, don't limit this conversation to big four growth. I think if you were to look at the entire business services industry per se, and the captives industry, definitely, the interesting thing is that more and more, whatever people can look at transitioning into India, I think those things are happening. A lot of the mid-sized companies who didn't have, or those large Fortune 500 companies who didn't have a presence in India, and a lot of mid-sized ones who didn't have are accelerating their presence in India. A lot of mid-sized banks, financial institutions, consumer companies, retail companies, tech companies are looking at more and more at India. SaaS is becoming, and the tech companies in the US are looking at leveraging India in a very significant way. Okay. So I would say all those things are positive for the industry. So I wouldn't be negative or this thing, but we have to be mindful of the fact that globally, we are in slightly uncertain times, and the next few months I think we'll get a better sense of where things are going. And I think I look at the for me, the only sort of thing that I'm more mindful of is, if you look at the Indian tech companies which are massively competitive, you look at Accenture's global results and what they are talking about, the overall outlook as compared to what we saw earlier, I think that's slightly different. So you have to be mindful of that.
Fair enough. That point is taken. Debasish, Mishra, if you can tell me just look 2 years into the future and say whether the pace can pick up even better than what you have seen. And the other thing that occurred to me, our data law is just going to be framed. Will those issues be a bit of a bother for foreigners if they are giving you audit and accountancy data, salary data to be maintained? Will the fact that the law is still not in place be an issue? Will they want some security?
No, definitely. People will be watching out for what are the regulations around that, and whether there will be data privacy, and those things are sacrosanct to many of the multinationals. But if you're looking at going forward, the trend that we are observing is that there will be multi-year operate deals. Many of the companies are getting completely outsourcing the operate part of managed services. Operate kind of deals are coming more and more, and those will be sticky. They will be stick around for 5 years, 7 years, and with so that trend will definitely increase. And we are not seeing this as only a cost arbitrage play. It's actually, there is a genuine skill gap in the Western markets where they are not able to, the workforce is not able to learn and relearn and newer skills. And that's where the companies are forced to actually look towards India.
Okay, that's very important, that there is something that India offers which they don't have. And then, as you say, what starts with an experiment with some firms then becomes a flood. Bala, would you want to hazard a guess in terms of whether you can continue at that 40% that was delivered over the last couple of years?
Sure. So if I look at what DCs are, for example, doing today, it's no longer about managing things individually or within the sort of the companies. They look for expertise to come in. So I think the panelists have already sort of talked about talent. Talent has continued to sort of be the sort of the top on the agenda, and its ability to sort of co-create and co-innovate is going to be a significant step forward as we sort of move forward.
And the quality of our engineers and accountants are measuring up. I mean, wave upon wave.
Exactly. So I think what's likely to happen is industries and the companies will move away from measuring performances on service level agreements, or what we call it as the SLAs or the KPIs, towards more in terms of what kind of business insights and outcomes that can be sort of generated.
Okay.
And that's going to be the future.
Okay.
Then expect more and more organizations, especially the service providers, to put their skin on the game to deliver the value that's sort of being sort of looked at. So, which means that there has to be an element of a profit sharing or element of motivation to deliver that co-innovation and sort of deliver that the results and the insights, which is going to be a game changer as we move along. New areas such as, like, for example, the ESG reporting, which and transparency law, that's going to be a very big sort of a call that will probably happen in the next a year or two. We'll see a significant demand for these services.
Okay. Got that.
In terms of where we expect the growth to come from.
Got that. I think the qualitative pathways that you are putting on the table is even more encouraging, as are, of course, the quantities that you are talking about. Rajiv, Bala, Debasish, thank you very much for joining us and filling the gaps in our understanding of India's services exports story. It's a glorious story for 2022-23 itself. But, I mean, 40-50% is what these gentlemen are talking in terms of their own in-house growth. But going forward, it's going to be a quantitative jump because India could be the go-to destination for services like China was for manufacturing. More services, and as Bala says, more value-added services, and a range of things like ESG that Rajiv was referring to. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. This looks like a great India growth story going forward. Thank you for watching.